In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast.
Welcome back to another pointless automotive podcast, APA podcast, the short form, if you will. Frank, how are you doing this evening, my man?
Hey man, what's up?
You know, same shit, different day. You know what? That
Hell
was
yeah.
kind of a spooky voice you used there. I believe this week is the week of Halloween. Is
Yeah,
that correct? When this
a little bit,
episode
yeah.
drops?
Yeah, and honestly, you were going spooky. I was going like 10% Ken Kniff if you're up on your obscure
Yeah.
old school Eminem references. But yeah, no, good. Spooky.
We'll roll with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love The Simpsons. I grew up on The Simpsons, and some of my favorite episodes, and I've been watching them to prep myself for Halloween this year, are
Good
the
call.
Tree House of Horror
Oh boy.
episodes. I absolutely
Yes.
love them. It's, you know, the writers cut loose, do their own thing, and they're really, really good to watch. But we're gonna do our own, instead of Treehouse, we're gonna call it the APA Garage of Horrors episode. So what I thought would be fun is we kind of share some of our tales that are nightmare scenarios that involve cars. It can be buying, selling, working on, anything car adjacent is open for discussion. And we just want to share some truly horrifying tales of cars.
Why are you dunking on the car behind me like that so hard?
Sir. You're the one with a 94 in the background. That's had the front end jacked up for about 8 months at this point.
Man. Yeah. It's no offense taken. It's are familiar. The term digging your own grave is very apropos of today's episode and in this time of spooky time of year. But yeah, like I don't know. I know we've done a learn from our mistakes episode once upon a time.
That's right.
And to be fair, I don't remember explicitly what beans I've already spilled there.
I don't remember what happened 5 minutes ago.
Neither do y'all's.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't remember. I don't remember. We're just gonna roll with the punches here. For the sake of spookiness. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Are you perfect? I certainly am not perfect.
Yeah. I guess not.
I saw a kitty. I saw a kitty in the background.
Did you?
Of your video, yeah.
She's a spicy little
like
bitch.
No, over by the mini. Maybe she went into, I don't know. There's a kitty. Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm not going to
call it a garage. There's been a garage kitty.
So I actually have a mascot, a real garage cat right now. It was a stray I took in right before the rally. Left. She still hung around. I kept my rear,
despite your best efforts.
Yeah, but I have a rear entrance to the garage area, my shop space. So yeah, she has a key to my back door, if you will. But anyway,
meow.
I'm trying not to call her over because she is very talkative.
I'm okay with that. I think the people would gladly hear a new meowing voice coming out of the ether in the background. I think that would be ideal. But speaking of, you know what? And I suppose that would be, you know, it's not a black cat, but we can pretend, right? Spooky.
Is it blackface if you paint your cat black?
Oh God. I don't know. Would you have to like bick your cat to then like put it in like the makeup?
I'm not going to chance it. 2023 is already a very sensitive year. I'm not going to chance it. So just
I don't. Yeah. Was it Salem? Was like the cat in was it Bewitched? No, I don't know. It's complicated.
Maybe. Sure.
What was? Yeah, there was that show.
Sabrina.
No, Sabrina. Thank you, Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Points. Never watched it.
Yes. I saw enough that like I saw that cat was like very poorly animated, and I'm okay with it. I think it adds.
I think it was
to
animatronic
to the lore.
too, wasn't it? Wasn't it an animatronic cat?
Yeah, I think they just like harvested the animatronic organs out of from an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese from like 1986, and they just made this unholy animatronic kitty situation.
You mean like Splash Mountain at Disneyland?
Yes. And do you remember I think short-lived website flashmountain.com, where you would go there and it was just like people flashing their kibbles and bits into the camera of that would take pictures of people going down Splash Mountain.
That happens?
And then it would publish. Yeah, well, it did. I think the mouse like it decapitates you and chums the waters with your sinew if you do it today. But like back in like say the late 90s, you can get away with doing that, and people's pictures would end up on the early days of the internet. I know. Get off my lawn.
So yeah, did you want to start us off with a scary story, Frank? You got something good
I
in
can
there?
do that. So just going stream of unfortunate consciousness here, which is kind of just how I operate generally, is so once upon a time, on a night just like this, I was a senior in high school. And I decided to buy a car that in retrospect was both a good deal and kind of a cool car. I didn't bookkeep so well on it. So 1981 Toyota Celica ST, which is like the entry level coupe, so not the fastback, not the hatchbacky one. They made the super set, the notchbacky one. Silver, black vinyl, had like 190,000 miles. I bought it from my high school auto shop. They were having a fire sale. Everything must go. And you tell that to a 17-year-old.
Like it needs to go, or it was on fire at one point.
This one actually was never on fire that I'm aware of. Was never on fire. Silver, black, 20. It's an 81. So that's the first year of the 22R, still carbureted.
That's right.
3-speed auto. Maybe it had overdrive. It might have been a 4-speed auto. I don't remember specifically. I drove it once.
Well bought, sir.
Well bought. Take a guess how much I purchased it for. Running, driving. I don't remember if the tags were up to date. I assume not. It was not smogged. It was bought as is. Suspension. It effectively had no shock or struts in it. I mean, it did, but for all intents and purposes, it didn't.
You paid, I want to say $600.
Less.
$400 and a hand job.
Less.
Shop teacher.
No hand jibbers or finger blasting involved. No.
More of a thumb blaster myself.
$150.
Hell yeah, dude. You overpaid. You only overpaid by $150.
Well, no. I overpaid on the other end. So here's and I don't, and this was not a hand jibber situation. On the other end, I mean later down the road in the world of transactions. So bought it for $150. At the time, I already had my Barracuda. I was 17, right? I had my daily, my Barracuda, and I had another car that I bought from the high school auto shop, a 1982 Datsun, Nissan by Datsun Sentra. No, it's a Sentra. I paid $17.50 for.
Monopoly price.
Yeah, it was limped at home and it needed the carburetor rebuilt. I rebuilt the carburetor in auto shop. It made it better, but still pretty well undrivable. That thing I eventually took to the junkyard and they paid me like $100 for it. And I kept the battery that was in it. So I came up maybe. But at the time I had the Barracuda. I had that thing parked in front of my parents' house. The Celica was too good of a deal to pass up, but I couldn't bring that home. I would have had to have lived in it. So I had another buddy. I parked it on the street near his house, and it's coming back to me now. Because remember when I said I didn't remember if the tags were current? They were not. I'm remembering now.
Fantastic.
So I parked it. He lived in like a townhouse, and I parked it in the townhouse complex, right? And I would move it around. There would be like warnings from the HOA, like you got to move your car. And so I would like once a week, I would move it around and just make sure that it would be out of sight, out of mind to me, because it was, but apparently to people that lived there, it was not. Once it got to 6 months and 1 day out of registration, I never put it in my name because I was 17, right? Had the title, out all the paperwork, whatever. Six months and 1 day tow truck came and hauled it away. Because in California, if your tags are over 6 months old, you can be just towed and impounded, right? So car disappeared. I was like, oh no, they towed it. It's gone. And I did what any idiot 17-year-old shouldn't do, but probably would do, which is I had a friend whose like cousin worked at the DMV. And I asked a friend of the cousin who worked at the DMV what happens to the car. And they're like, oh, it's just going to go to like an impound yard. They'll sell it and then they'll lien sell it and then it'll be gone and whatever. I'm like, okay, I paid $150 for the car. I guarantee the tow was $150. I'm not going to pay all the whatever. I'm just going to let it go. So that's what I chose to do. I just was like, you know what? It's gone. Out of sight, out of mind. Well, like 8 months later, I get a collections letter in the mail. Is that the cat? Is the kitty making noises?
She's playing with a screw on the ground that hopefully is not important.
I see her. I see her. See, this right here is why y'all need to be watching along at home. So you can see like 11 pixels of a cat in the background on Chadwick's feed. It's worth
playing with a little screw. I don't know, some kind of fastener.
So yeah, I screwed myself on this exchange because what happened was I got a collections notice in the mail, right? It was like, hey, impounded your car. What they did is they did the lien sale process. Lien sale process went back to the person who donated it to the high school. The person who donated the high school was like, oh, I signed a release of liability. They went to the high school. High school was like, no. We sold it to this guy being me. Which is what they should have done. One day I've been trying to track down my high school auto shop teacher to be a guest on the pod, and I have not done that successfully. I think it would be fun. But that guy, no blame to him, he sold me out to the DMV, all I know is that, and this would have been in like 2003 money, 2002, 2003 money. I got a bill from a collection agency for like $1,200.
Holy shit.
Because what happened was they towed it, they impounded it, they charged their, again, 2003 money, like $45 a day storage or whatever it was over the course of like, I don't know, 3 months till they eventually sold it for like $600. Which to the point I was like, see, I bought that thing wet. I bought that thing right. I did a good job buying that car. It was everything else that I did that was wrong.
Right.
And eventually I sucked it up, man. I probably shouldn't have. I probably could have, in retrospect, I probably could have been like, bro, I'll give you like $400 lump sum and this goes away. But I didn't. I just did an installment and I paid like $100 a month for a year.
Oh my God.
When I was like 18 and it went away. And that was it. And that might be my biggest L. To which I've been chasing that money since and trying to break even. But yeah, kids, don't do that.
That was like an M. Night Shyamalan horror story. It was like the building, the exposition, and then that was like, and then my severed hand was in the back of the car. That sucks.
There's a very real chance that car's still driving around.
That tow truck driver looked at your plates, ran the fucking numbers, and was like, "God damn!"
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He like set an alert on his. Well, this was back then. There were no alerts on phones, so he had like a straight up like Rolodex calendar. He had the tear off one a day like Dilbert calendar, and he just tore off to the one that he put a little squiggly note on.
Horrible.
Pleasant Hill, California. Camelback. Go get it. Yeah.
What do I have?
How about you? You ever get anything impounded?
Oh, I've had cars towed before, but nothing impounded. That wasn't mine to begin with. But recently I had. If you ask people like Japanese icon cars, 300ZX twin turbos come up often. If you ask people iconic Japanese cars that are hard to work on, 300ZX twin turbo comes up often. So when I purchased mine, I was super happy to find out that the timing belt water pump with receipt was done at the Nissan dealership just a few years prior with only 20,000 miles. That, my friends, is how you buy these cars, right? Because you don't want to do that job. So I get back from I had an alignment done because I put new tires on. I'm driving the car back from the alignment place, like 3 miles away from my house. The most awful noise, just I can hear something shredding apart under the hood, pieces flying out, cars behind me swerving. I can see a big cloud of coolant smoke because the coolant's now hitting something hot. I limped the car home. This happened. It was literally like a half mile from home. Get it home, just coolant pouring out. Open the hood to find out the water pump neck had seized. Now, this is a clutch fan car, which is pretty late in the game for clutch fan cars, not trucks, but cars. But anyway, it had seized. Basically, the clutch fan had spun the fan crazily, shredded the shroud for the fan, and just sliced up everything underneath there, shot plastic everything, cut up the hood liner, but didn't damage the radiator.
Okay, or the hood.
Or the hood, because sometimes when those blades come loose, they can shoot anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that.
And they're spinning. So anyway, the noise was god-awful. But anyway, I'm like, how the hell does this happen? And I mean, the water pump was still super shiny, just a few years, 20,000 miles. So it just, apparently it's a thing that can happen. It was just like one of those things. So I ended up having to do the water pump again. I didn't touch the timing belt, which is, it's not that hard to do on that car.
Question for you. Just trying to go the Zapruder film and pull this thing apart and trying to figure out why that pump failed. I remember on that thing, the coolant was effectively muddy water. And also that it sat for not a super long time. I know homie started it occasionally and drove it kind of occasionally.
Yeah.
Do we think that the super crazy rusty water and then it's sitting like that could have?
No, because the part that
the bearing is sealed, right? It was probably
there's you wouldn't have coolant going through the bearing. The bearing it seized, which is it's just mind blowing that would happen on an OEM part, But just that's what I'm saying. The thing, sometimes you buy these cars and the thing, you put it out of your mind, the most expensive fix, right? Usually a water pump timing belt is one of the most expensive maintenance items. And I'm like, look at me, OEM part with a receipt from Nissan. And they're not going to honor something 3 years old with 20,000 miles. So I ended up putting a new water pump in it. But dude, it was so expensive because it destroyed, I replaced the fan clutch OEM, the fan blade, the shroud, and then.
Was the clutch seized?
So,
or just while you're in there?
Well, I was in there because it's the car had 100 and did I have 180 or did it go over 200? I can't remember.
I've had fan clutches seized and it just sounds like a diesel truck.
Well, what I do is I spin them, and if it's way more catchy than it should be, I just go ahead and there's no sense in, especially putting a brand new water pump in. I'm not doing that job twice.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder if the clutch failed, if the clutch failed, I wonder if that could have been the straw that broke the water pump's back, but it didn't sound like it. It sounds
no, because it's still spun. Yeah, usually when they fail, they seize completely.
They lock.
But I have no idea what really caused it. It's just that where it connects, the little pulley on the end of the water pump neck just completely got all wonky. And you could take it and move it a half inch side to side. It was completely broken inside. So
it's usually what I'm working with. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you gotta touch the walls, right?
With Pong, but it's I don't know, and I've done that before where you buy the right part and then you install it and then it doesn't work and you're like, wait, and then you go and troubleshoot everything else in the world and you go back to the part that you were no, this has to be, and then you swap it out and then it is the fix and you just got a bad part, or the part fails super quickly, and there's almost nothing more frustrating in the world.
But what made it nightmare fuel is just because sometimes when you put a new part in, it's going to fail up front, right? Or it's an old part and it fails. Something that's right in that sweet spot where it's still fresh and has been operating fine under normal situations. It's just that kind of shit.
So you bought the car? Yeah.
It just blows my. Well, I'd driven it so much before too.
Yeah.
It was just that one moment. It just doesn't. Those are the things. Those are the true nightmare scenarios, right? And these people that get a good deal on a car, those are the kind of things that can sink your good deal, right? If you're not handy, if I had to go pay someone to put that water pump in, we're talking some pretty good coin to do that job on that car. If anyone wants to touch it, right?
Yeah, and that's part of the game, though, right? When you're buying cars from the 80s, 90s. Some of that stuff is going to happen. How many random cars that just you or I have interacted with together where the moment either you touch it or I touch it, something catastrophic happens, and it's just happenstance, whether it was that Audi, that B6 that
Dude,
Audi, the
Lindsay's like, talk about
B6S4,
the Audi. Talk about the Audi.
Galant,
Frank's
or
is
the
trying to make you
Galant,
do a review of.
right? Or the Galant that I bought up, like fresh turbo, and then I on the drive home I get like 15 miles on the road, and the fresh turbo shits the bed. Like,
bro, not even
some
a
of this
fresh
is part and
turbo. Not
parcel.
like I installed the turbo and you left my shop. I installed the
That's what I
turbo
mean.
and did like 8
And then I
quarter-mile
touched it,
pulls.
right? And then I touched it, and it shit the bed. And that's just how this stuff works sometimes. And it's
Yep.
just like, if you're gonna play in the swamp, occasionally you're gonna get bit by something, and it's just how it's gonna work. And you got to be okay with it. And that's what's interesting when people buy cars, and then they're immediately like want to like burn the house down of the guy that they bought it from because they put 800 miles on it and the clutch started slipping. It's like, well,
Oh,
like
yeah.
nobody knew, right?
Right.
Or the rear main seal started leaking, or whatever. Like, that's just what's gonna, a tire blows, the battery dies.
Yep.
Okay, nobody knew. That's just what it's gonna be. Speaking of new parts failing,
Uh-oh.
have I shared the ballad of when I almost killed myself in my 1941 Chevrolet, and then the brakes caught on fire, and then the tire exploded?
Well, you did tell that story. It's a good one, though.
It's a good one. I'll try. I'll guess. I guess I should cliff notes it,
Yeah,
because
do the
it's
bridge
apropos.
version.
It's
It is very
apropos
scary.
to, well, I drove over a bridge, so it would be very a bridge. It's apropos of the new parts failing, because this was the 41 Chevy. Had a guy I know do a bunch of work on it, including the entire brake, almost the entire brake system. The only part that was not brand new was the lines, the actual brake lines. And I'm not in this scenario, they were not what failed. I eventually replaced them later because I had to redo half of the brake things, because what happened was I drove the car home from Vallejo, which is over the river and through the woods, over a bridge, down a back road. It's a 1941 Chevy. This thing existed 2 decades before freeways existed, and so it's not really exactly cut out for modern freeway use. Go to drive it home, go up over the bridge. I thought when I put fresh gas in it, right? Because the fuel system was also new. There was like a couple gallons in it. Filled up the tank in Vallejo before I drove. And I thought I felt, as I was leaving the gas station, like it wasn't quite rolling free. Like the brakes were maybe dragging, but like not really. And I had never driven this car before, this truck, ever.
Oh, man.
So, okay, fine. I drive it, seems to be doing okay. I get up over the bridge. I'm doing fine. What was happening behind the scenes that I was unaware of was the fresh brake master cylinder. When let's say I apply, just to make math easy here, let's say I apply 50% brake pedal pressure and then let off, it would bleed off. When I pick the pedal up, it would bleed off all but 0.5% of brake pressure. Then if I did it again, right, 50% down on the brake pedal and then back up, it would not bleed off another 0.5% of brake. So now I'm at 1% on the brakes. And every single time I was pushing on the brakes, it was like compressing a little bit and not quite letting off. And brakes on and not quite letting off the line pressure. And this is an old school, this was, I think, the very first GM product with wet brakes was this generation pickup truck. First hydraulic brakes, they were all cable brakes before this.
That's right.
Very rudimentary, like single pot, no dual channel, no 4-channel brakes here, just very rudimentary. And I get almost home and I realize, I'm like, man, I'm really having to give this thing throttle to get up a hill. I had to go up a hill, then to go down a hill. So I'm like, boy, like I know this car is like 60 horsepower in this truck. So I'm like, this is what I signed up for. I don't know the health of all this thing. I push it up the hill, and then I'm coming down the hill, and I'm like, yo, I got to give it throttle to go down the hill. And I'm like, okay, well, at this point, I was like a few miles from home. I was not that far from home. I was like, I'm just going to get it home. I'm going to get it home, figure out what's going on. I don't really know. And then it got to the point where I was a mile from my house, and I had to be pinned in second.
You didn't smell anything? You didn't smell what the Rock was cooking that day?
No, because I was always moving. I was afraid to stop.
True.
And so, and the way I took, there was like a couple of sketchy stops. I was like, I'll get home. So I get to my house and I turn the left turn to go into my house, in front of my house. And as I'm turning it, I go to step on the brake and it's not there because it's already sunken onto the floor, the brake pedal. And I'm like, so I basically grind it to a stop. I downshift in the first. It's a granny gear. And then I grind the wheels onto the curb to get it to try and stop in front of my house. Thankfully, there was no one parked on the street because I ended up overshooting the carrier landing and grinding it to a stop in front of my neighbor's house.
Oh, nice.
And then I get out and I put the parking brake on, which didn't do anything. It's a cable parking brake, goes to the rear, just zip to nothing. I'm like, I go around the back and the rear brakes are on fire. Like the passenger side is glowing. The driver's side is actively in flames. And I'm like, that's not good. Go in the house. I grab a fire extinguisher, which I had under the sink. I jog back out. My wife's like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. Brakes are on fire. Don't worry about it. Just grab a fire extinguisher, go back outside. As I walk out in front of my house, I get with like 10 feet of the truck, and then boom, the driver's rear tire just explodes from the heat, just grenades, which thankfully actually put out the fire. So I don't have to use the fire extinguisher. It just snuffed out the fire. Crazy loud, right? People come out, like neighbors come out, like, what the hell was that? And I'm like, don't worry about it. My truck was on fire in front of your house. And yeah, that's what it was. It was the brand new master cylinder, which was made in China. As that's apparently the only people that make 1940s GM brake master cylinders. And that was the last one in the country. I had the warranty replacement one was on backorder for 10 months, trying to get another one. And they sent me a rebuild kit for it. But what was happening was there was a flaw in the casting of the actual master cylinder itself. So the piston moving within the casting of the master cylinder was catching a little bit and not bleeding all the pressure off as it should have been. Yeah,
that's scary. Not stopping.
Dude, if that happened like 2 miles earlier than it did, yeah, they would have been picking my teeth out of the dashboard. It would have been not good.
Damn, son.
Yeah. How about you? You almost kill yourself because of poor decisions you've made? Because I'm good at
many times in my life, my friend.
I mean, with regards to cars, not regards to like autoerotic asphyxiation or anything else you've got cooking.
That one's hard to limit.
So really in excess.
I got a good one here, my friend. So this is, I know we're running up on time here, but so I sold.
Give it to me.
We're gonna flip back. I think it was a year or two. I sold an amazingly clean 1988 Dodge Daytona Shelby Z.
What a sweetheart!
On an online auction site. I thought it sold for a very fair price. This car was. You just don't see them like this.
Yeah, it was good.
Well cool.
Well bought, well sold.
The gentleman who bought the car. So you assume these are assumptions, and this only can happen in nightmare scenarios where the guy is a complete lunatic who doesn't trust the internet, yet purchases cars on that internet. Like, what? This doesn't make any sense. Trust me.
I blame Fauci.
This guy was a tinfoil hat guy. Immediately, when the auction closes, I was pretty happy with the bidding. It turned out pretty good. There was a lot of action on that car.
What was it, like $90-something $100?
$10,700.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah, it's a good number for that car.
Pretty good. And great example. Like, I couldn't have picked a better color combination. Yeah. Anyway, immediately, as soon as the auction closes, email comes to me calling the auction site a fraud, sends me. He said he's not going to send money, which is like the immediate first thing you have to do when you buy a car is obviously work out the payment details, send some form of payment before you even think about getting the car. He laid out this plan saying the official law is he needs to take the car back to his home, which is halfway across the country. He'd come and transport it back. And then he has 3 days where the money would be held in this escrow account where he decides if he's going to keep it or not. I'm like, I don't know which world you're from, my friend, where I'd let someone come to my house, take a car away, and then tell me if they want it or not. Yeah. But anyway, absolutely bonkers, right? And then the other thing is, so he's like, okay, if that's not going to work, He sends me all these California law things that he's Googled, and he's like, this company is operating outside the law. I'm like, sir, you created an account with this company and actively were looking and bidding on cars. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You won. Congratulations. I'm sorry you have to buy a car right now.
Right.
So this guy, I mean, it was tough to work out. Eventually, I settled for him coming here with cash, which I don't like to do because he was like, "Oh, it's contingency will be a test drive and everything." I'm like, "But you're already obligated at this point."
Let him drive out, right? Like, because he drove with a trailer, didn't he?
So dude was coming, and he was driving straight. So he took
at 2
days
point,
to drive like halfway
let him
across
take
the country.
2 days out to be like, never mind, and then drive like 2 days back. Like,
who's not gonna
call that bluff?
The car showed so well, was absolutely
it was a great car.
Yeah,
it was a great for what it was. Top 1% of 1% left.
Probably all day, right? Very one owner, well taken care of, never sat it out in the sun
turbo
before.
Shelby Z.
Oh yeah. So very nice car. Anyway, the gentleman brings his trailer, drives. We go for a short test drive. Of course, it performs flawlessly. Go figure. Low mileage, one owner, Shelby Z Daytona. This is where karma comes in, my friend. So he loads his trailer's like an enclosed car trailer, which is cool. I'd love to have one of those, but very narrow. You have to kind of push a car in once you get to the top, but he drove it all the way in, so he couldn't open the door. And he's a kind of a portly lad, so
rotund.
He couldn't squeeze out. So let me tell you about Chrysler materials from this period. But anyway, so the interior on that car was shockingly good, though. That was a 9.5 out of 10 as far as
really nice
Shelby Z's go. Great burgundy leather. He kind of hoists himself up, pulls himself up. This is a T-top car, so I was already worried. He's pulling himself up by the glass top there, and his belt buckle scrapes all the way up the door. The door card is actually that leather, like that padded leather, just shreds it. Puts a fucking razor blade cut right up through it. I'm like, well, you can't replace that ever. That's damage. And then he does this flip move where he sits back down on the window trim where the windows roll down, and the plastic trim there completely shatters. And that's like, fine, I can probably glue that or replace it, except it shattered into a million pieces, and it's the part that says Shelby Z on it.
It's the black with the red script.
Such a important part of that car. Just shattered. I can hear it, and I'm in the back of the trailer, just going, "Oh my fucking!" I'm like, "Thank God I've gotten my money." And this is why you always request money before they handle a car.
Well, that's not even counting the part where he was trying to claim that like it had been like a massive front end accident, and the whole front clip had been replaced.
What was the reason for that?
He said it was. Didn't he tell you it was like, "Oh yeah, I was supposed to have a badge here on the upper tie bar," and you're like, "No, it's not." It's like, "Yeah, it's supposed to say Shelby Z like right here." It's like, no, it isn't. And it's you're like look it up on your phone and be like, "Dude, look, like, no."
No, that car was very representative.
Super tight. That was a really good car.
A clean car. But anyway, but those things he destroyed cannot be replaced. That's like unobtainium. You can't fix that. And he got so pissy. Like, I could tell. He was like, "Oh, guess that's ruined." And like just shrugging it off. And I'm like, inside my heart was like,
deal.
It just hurt because like
it sucks because it was an honest original car.
Yeah, but that was the karma coming back. But the guy was a complete loon. It was just like the most wild, like, nightmare. Because you think the people you're going to be dealing with are not going to go complete tinfoil hat on you. But
things to consider.
Yeah,
you're selling a Dodge Daytona turbo Shelby Z,
right?
Yeah, and what comes with that territory,
You're selling it online though. It's kind of weird, right?
It's a dice roll, right? Like, you don't know who you're gonna get, and I've had very good experience. I've had some weird ones, usually on the weird cars.
But you don't contest the validity of the auctioning company like that. Once that's what he led with, and I'm like, this is not going well.
Listen here, Sonny. You're like, dude, can we just like not?
So that's a nightmare. Like, you think something's gonna go smooth, but you never know, guys. And there are people like this out there. I'm glad the karma police, like, had my back on that one. Scary stuff, but that's the scary stuff of selling a car sometimes, right? You think, like, for me, buying is easy, right? We go out and buy cars all the time. Selling cars is fucking scary sometimes.
Spooky. I've never like truly wrecked a car out. Have you ever wrecked a car out?
wrecked. I flipped the car in a snowbank on its roof,
Oh,
but
damn.
you just had to punch
That's
the roof
spooky.
out after. It was like an '87 Ford Escort, so it was fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, yeah. No, that's all.
Spooky. You ever have an alternator fail on a car when you're driving?
I have, and then I limped it home to the point where I got it. Like, it basically died as I was coasting through the parking lot, and I had to put it in neutral. It was an automatic. It was my first Mark II Supra.
Nice.
Driving back from college, yeah, the alternator failed at night.
Yep.
And I like the yes, single candle power headlights, and like you're turning stuff off to try and make it home, and it was misfiring as I pulled into the parking lot. And I wasn't far from campus, but I barely made it. Oh yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, mine was upstate New York when I was still in the military. Rainy night, like extreme downpour. Windshield wipers started doing this on the highway. Headlights became like candle lights, and got right off the off ramp. Dead as a doornail. So that is kind of spooky when it happens, because you notice it gradually. Like your interior lights, I'm like, those look dim. Man, my headlights. What's wrong with my windshield wipers? Oh,
yeah. Let's see, what else did I lost? I know I did one on the Barracuda. But that was a 35 amp alternator from the factory. So there's no room for error. It's either you're working or you're dead stick. So yeah, you didn't get that effect. And on my second first gen 4Runner, my white 4Runner, I know I lost an alternator on it. And speaking of bad parts, and I know we're about ready to have me quiz all over your face and neck. The frustrating one on that one was it would drop to idle, and it would stutter a little bit, and it would show the charge light. And so first I thought it was a bad ground. So I cleaned the grounds up, I put it together, and no change. And so I was sorry, this just has to be the alternator, right? So I pull the alternator, take it to my local parts place, right? And it was the original Nip and Denso, like nice alternator. And they're like, hey man, I'd love to sell you an alternator, but we just bench tested this thing and it tests like perfect. You got a killer alternator. This is I'm not going to sell you like a reman alternator when you've got a perfectly good alternator. It's something else. Like, okay. So I chased my tail for so long trying to figure out what this was. And I couldn't figure it out. And I'm just like, I ate up a battery. I replaced a battery cable. I was like, oh, maybe some corrosion got down the line. I pulled back some of the insulation and it seemed okay, but I'm like, well, now I've cut the insulation out. Let me just replace it. And I did all this stuff and I was like, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to replace the alternator. Replace the alternator. Perfect. It was a bad alternator. They just bench tested it and they told me it was great when it was boned.
Scary advice.
Ooh, spooky.
I think it comes with the territory, though. I think like you're gonna run into these horror stories. Yeah. Like it always, and the really scary ones are the ones that catch you off guard. The unexpected, well-maintained thing that fails randomly.
Right.
That's what gets you. Or when you have a smooth deal, business transaction that completely turns into a nightmare scenario. With someone threatening legal action over something you didn't do wrong.
Yeah, that's the one when they're like super chill and everything's perfect. And then like an hour later, they're like, I'm going to kill you. I know where you live. And you're like, what? And it was because of nothing. It's because they ran out of gas or something silly. But yeah. Do you have any automotive horror stories? I don't actually. I'm not a whoring gentleman. Yeah, I'll let you plead the fifth on that one. Speaking of potential horror stories, are you ready? Are you ready to be quizzed upon, my friend?
I'm ready, guys. It's time for our little segment of the show that we have aptly named or not named, the Automotive Print Ad Quiz Game Show. It's a little thing we run here on the pod ever since episode 001, the genesis of this wonderful thing we do.
That's right.
But there are rules. There are regulations.
There are.
These ads, featured in magazines primarily, have to involve a car from the 80s, 90s, up to the mid-2000s. I will have 3 guesses after Frank reads the ad, omitting anything that clearly gives it away. Every time I fail, which apparently he's already prefaced, this one's going to be tricky. So when that happens, he is going to send me some lifeline action, and hopefully we can get through it together. 10 minutes on the clock once he finishes the ad. I am ready to rock and roll. Frank, lay it on me. I already know this is going to suck, but go for it.
Okay. So The reason I preface this and Chadwick prefaced this with that this one's going to suck is because I'm being a little bit indulgent here. Mostly because I think the ad is silly.
Okay.
And it might date it a little bit, depending on how deep into the woods that y'all's at home and Chadwick are about National Basketball Association stars of yesteryear. So this is a one pager. It shows the front, our favorite front quarter image, although mostly broadside. It's not terribly quarterish. It's more the side of it. It's white. And then it says the convertible according to Isaiah. And it has a large frame of a gentleman.
I'm assuming
holding a basketball.
Isaiah Thomas for bonus points.
Might be. Let's see. Then so it says the convertible according to Isaiah. Whether he's going up for a slam dunk or down the road for a drive, Isaiah Thomas likes to get a lot of air. And when it comes to driving, there's no better way than in the new blank. Blank hasn't just opened up a car with the blank convertible. They've also opened up the road because Blank's twin cam, 16 valve engine delivers the same kind of performance Isaiah is known for. High powered.
4-cylinder.
High powered. Okay. The blank convertible doesn't only make what's on the outside look great. Inside, the ergonomically designed interior fits like it has been molded around you and comes complete with a driver's side airbag supplemental restraint system and a deluxe, which is capitalized, so it's a noun, deluxe.
Gotcha.
AM/FM stereo radio with 4 speakers. The blank convertible. It's chapter and verse of what convertibles are all about, according to Isaiah. And then it has Isaiah Thomas's signature at the bottom. So it's a convertible. It has airbags. It apparently was popular whilst Isaiah Thomas was not just also popular, but also powerful, much like this car, which has 16 valves. And a 4-speaker deluxe AM/FM radio. I'll let you get one guess in before I give you an additional. I'll give you the tagline hint of the manufacturer.
I mean, there's really like nothing to work with here, my friend.
I'll tell you, they said blank convertible, which means that there's a non-convertible variant of the same vehicle.
Okay, so it's not purely like a Miata.
It is not correct. Not like Miata would not count. And also an S2000, I don't think they would brag about a 4-speaker AM/FM deluxe.
You never know.
Stereo and a driver's side airbag.
Wasn't like, I know Isaiah Thomas is on the ad, but this isn't like a special edition or anything like.
No, that would be so cool if there was an Isaiah Thomas,
like basketball stitch seats or something. So
sick.
That would be pretty sick, actually.
Yeah,
like it'd be horrible to sit on.
Livery.
Dude, I don't think there's enough to even venture again.
Let me see if there's any other.
This is early 90s, correct? Isaiah Thomas is in his heyday.
I'll give you that. The new 1991 blank convertible.
Oh, shit. So I got the player. I got the year.
You got the player. You got the year. Player.
Convertible 91. Dual overhead cam.
16 valve.
Everything in the 90s was dual overhead cam, 16 valve.
91.
I want to say it can be Honda. There's nothing really convertible-y about that. Dude, this is. I don't think I can do anything.
I know there's little to go off. I told you it was going to be. I just like the ad, which is that's my hang up.
It is a cool idea.
We've only had one other ad quiz celebrity cameo.
Paul Hogan.
Paul Hogan.
The Outback.
The original Outback.
Convertible, but not convertible only with a 4-cylinder. Dual overhead cam, 16 valve. Doesn't say displacement.
Does not say displacement.
Doesn't give us a door count, which I'm assuming 2-door, but there were weird 4-door convertibles.
Were there any in the early 90s? 4-door convertibles.
Yeah, in the 90s, maybe not the early. Yeah. I know the Audi A4s had a 4-door convertible in the mid 90s.
It was a 2-door.
No,
I don't know.
I think they have
no.
Sebring.
They were all 2-doors.
Sebring convertible, baby.
2-doors.
Were they 2-doors?
They're all 2-doors. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Do I have to?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
I don't know, dude. I don't even know what to say. Car that wasn't always convertible, but was convertible with a little sweet engine.
Can I tell you? Have you ever seen the So this exact same car, same generation and everything, has a foreign language. I'll put it this way: a foreign language video ad that is fairly famous because it's starring Eddie Murphy.
The same car, right?
The same car. It's another celebrity cameo this car is in.
That I do remember.
Suke. New.
Is that what we're talking about, though?
I don't know. It's up to you. I don't know.
The Eddie Murphy was like the same year, too, right? Wasn't it the early 91 or 92?
Dude, early 90s was peak Eddie Murphy powers. Maybe a little bit later.
Well, that's a good hint, obscure hint that I may know. If I remember.
If the one you're thinking of is a convertible variant, then maybe you're onto something. If they had a convertible in the car you're thinking of.
They did. And I know the Eddie Murphy one, but now I don't. Now you're making me second guess. I hope you're accurate. So Eddie Murphy was in, and it was really awkward. The commercial.
Yes,
it's very weird.
It was.
But that was a Celica GT, I believe, in the commercial with Eddie Murphy. Are you talking about the Celica convertible? The
Is that a guess, sir?
Yeah, let's go with that because if we're right on Eddie Murphy, the Eddie Murphy one was definitely a Celica GT. In this case, convertible. First guess.
And when it comes to driving, there's no better way than the new 1991 Celica convertible.
Yeah.
That is it.
Was it in GT trim, right?
Because
they never did a GTS convertible.
It was only a G. They didn't do a GTS convertible, and I don't think they did an ST convertible. I'm pretty sure they only did the convertible in the GT trim.
But to be fair, I would not have gotten your ad because I only knew.
No, I was prepared. Thing. I was prepared to continuously feed you additional hints. The last one was a tagline, which is "I love what you do for me."
Yeah.
Which maybe you would have gone Paseo, but like,
nah. The Eddie Murphy fucking commercial is so cringe, dude.
Let me find out. Oh, dude, it's so good though.
It's so cringy.
Let me find a way to send you a link to this ad. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
So this has nothing. This ad had the Eddie Murphy really didn't either. Had nothing to do with Isaiah Thomas. Like there's zero like tie-in, no special commemorative. No. Okay.
There you go. I sent you a link.
You are deep diving for car ads, my friend.
I had some other ones lined up. I'm like, oh man, celebrity cameos are so good.
What is this? It's got his signature at the bottom of the screen.
That's what caught me. I was like, oh my god. Okay. I wish there was like an Isaiah Thomas signature edition, a Muggsy Bogues.
I would have never gotten that if you didn't say the Eddie Murphy thing.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I knew there was so little to go on unless either A, you were like an absolute Isaiah Thomas honk. Yeah, I don't know. I found it fun. I told you it was indulgent and unfair.
It is a good one. Hey, I got the basketball player immediately and the year. It's just the
you did.
Wasn't gonna get the rest. Of that. No way that was gonna happen.
No, it's yeah. But well done, sir.
Good ad.
Oh boy. What have you been up to in the garage, sir? Not necessarily the garage of of horrors.
Oh, yeah, no, it's actually been kind of smooth sailing in the garage lately. I recently shot the review of the Isuzu Trooper, the 1988 Trooper I have. A lot goes into that, man. There's a lot that goes into those reviews. Prepping the vehicle, getting all my equipment ready. I have 4 cameras that I bring, all that kind of fun stuff. My testing equipment, scales, all that good stuff. And the only time I've really taken that thing for a long drive, it's putting around adventure stuff. I did take it down for the DWA Morning Motors that one time. That's the longest trip I went. It went fine. Zero mechanical issues. Not a lot of power, guys. 120 horsepower pushing around 1.5 Miatas worth of vehicle. Makes for a slow hill climb event. So I didn't have to downshift when I did the review. So it was already off to a great start. It went well, it went slow as dirt, my friend, at 0 to 60 in the 19-second range, which is abysmal. But honestly, when you think about it, for the period though, late 80s, a truck with a 4-cylinder, I mean, that's kind of it's funny. You go back and watch Metro, you go Retro Motor Week, metrosexual version. But you go back and watch that and they're like, it provided, the 4-cylinder provides what do they call a sprightly kick? And it's 0 to 60 in 14.8 seconds. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Cause you sent me those numbers that it was 19.74 to 60 and 2209 in the quarter at
62,
at roughly 62.9. So call it 63 miles an hour. So it took almost 3 full seconds to get that extra 3 miles per hour.
It really peters out up top, which is indicative of that motor. It has a red line of 5,500. It's a 2.6.
That's asking a lot out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it
probably runs out of gas at 4.
Yeah, it's a truck motor. It makes 150 pound-feet of torque. I don't know where the fuck those torque are, but they're somewhere. But great engine. That engine's legendary, really reliable. So the year after that, you could get a 2.8 liter GM sourced V6. That's how much that V6 made for horsepower, though.
135,
120.
Ah, yes. I overshot my landing.
A little more torque, but same horsepower, and you get the GM V6
right
2.8, which is not.
Yeah, I'd much rather work on that.
Oh, dude, ease of
2.6 inline. Yeah,
but it was just doing that, and then so that review should be pretty awesome. The NX I've been cranking out there, did brakes, rotors, pads, fluid, all that kind of stuff. So stupid stuff. How about you, man? What have you been turning wrenches on, if you have?
Absolutely nothing. Good night, everybody.
Hey!
No, hey, spooky. So no, yeah, I mean, effectively, really nothing. I've been so damn busy, and it's going to get busier here. So I don't know. I think I'm really doubling down on my kind of come to Jesus moment of sell almost absolutely everything.
Yeah,
S2000's not going. Barracuda's not going. For now, the Gallant's not going. I think everything else, and maybe the daily, but even then, maybe. If someone walks up and says, "I'll give you 15 for it," I'll probably just take it.
Take it. Title in my pocket.
Title in my pocket. I've got the weird key situation is still unresolved. So I don't know. I think I might just. The market is getting scary-ish from a selling standpoint, which makes me want to sell today.
Yeah,
because guess what? If I sell today, I can be
microphone will be assaulted.
If I sell today, I can be in a better position to purchase tomorrow.
This is correct,
right?
How it works.
And so I'm not going to bust out the full crystal ball, but if I have some interesting stuff to drive around in the interim, I can sell a couple of 924s. I can sell a Supra. I can sell a Suburban.
Speaking of spooky, supernatural, preternatural stuff, I have the Magic 8 Ball in my hands. Man. Is now a good time for Frank to actually follow through with selling some of his fleet, or should he wait? Should he store his acorns, his nuts, if you will, in his mouth for a longer period?
I can't store my own in my mouth, but let's see what happens.
Should it? Well, when you are more flexible. So should Frank sell his fleet? My reply is no.
What?
Ooh,
I know. Oh man. All
Paul
right.
doesn't
Look
lie,
at the
my
whole.
friend.
That's
How?
true. All right.
Ooh.
I'm going shopping, baby. Um, by the way, tangent that y'all are gonna listen to live here. Um, bro, you gonna buy you want to buy that Miata? You want a Miata?
No, I'm good. I'm
You don't
good.
want you don't want to
Look,
you don't want
man,
to
don't
you don't want
don't
an
lead
NB?
off with I need to sell some fleet and then hey man,
I need to sell.
I've been
I
doing
can
really
push my other
good.
stuff on. You've been
Frank,
doing a
I've
lot
been
better than
doing
I have.
so good. I've been doing
I
so
know.
good, man. I've got the NX in the works. I've got the Blazer in the works. Like things are moving, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things are
I
moving.
think yeah, if you can hustle the Blazer out, I think you can get paid on that pretty if you can
We'll see.
before the worm turns. I think you'll
Yeah.
do okay on it. I've seen like I don't know, I've seen people do pretty well. I've seen some recent auction results
Dude, I'm
that's
almost
done
out of
well.
like projects though, right? Like once the Blazer's out the door, I have the neon, the
Have you
Glant,
considered a ZR1?
the ZR1 I still have. I'm gonna hold on to that. The Glant,
Yeah.
the ZR1 are keepers. The Trooper's a keeper. Yeah, the
I'm
rest are
almost
probably
out of
gonna go.
projects. You've got like four just sitting there waiting. Um, but yeah, no, I get it because I need to maybe disobey the 8 ball and shed some things. I just yeah. Um, that's all the progress I've made. It's just mental progress, which is not
Counts.
for nothing. I don't know.
That counts for something.
It counts. And you know what else counts? All of your continued listener and viewership. If you aren't
Oh,
viewing there, good listeners at home, you should jump on over to the YouTube feed where you can mock us openly and make inappropriate comments that I refuse to read. If
absolutely.
you want to just continue listening and you want to avoid seeing us, I completely understand it. Please continue to do so. There's like rankings, not rankings, but reviews that you can do, and
We
you
are
can
not
leave reviews.
we are not on those rankings.
No, we are. We're
Someone
big. We're I think top. What did I say? We were like top 100 of automotive podcasts in New
99.
Zealand.
99.
Which means we have one New Zealand listener. So thank you, dear Kiwi. We appreciate it,
Yeah.
and everyone genuinely listening. This is fun. Um, we do it in spite of you, but we also do it because of you. So thanks.
No.
Thanks for participating. Um, you can continue to just follow along in all the places, including Instagram. If you want to check that out, that's at APA podcast on the gram. That's nearly abandoned. We post occasionally. So thank you for witnessing our not good at posting this. Chadwick, how about you?
Hey, everybody. If
Hi.
you are into automotive rescues,
Who
restorations,
isn't?
and reviews, you should be of turd boxes, unfortunately. So if you're looking for those supercar rebuilds,
The
just
cream of
move
the
on
crop.
down the line to the other 100 options you have ahead of you. But if you're into that kind of jazz with the cars we tend to talk about, check me out, Auto Obsessive Garage on YouTube. You can also find some of my sneak peeks at progress or setbacks, however you want to label that, on my Instagram of the same name. And Frank, where can the good people follow your work or lack thereof sometimes?
I failed at doing the research on the poorly conceived, very niche dating websites. In lieu of all of those, I can be found generally at
but not gently.
That the photographer's garage on the Instagrams and on the YouTubes primarily. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. Catch me in the street. You can catch me outside.
Yeah, how about that?
Mm-hmm.
Happy Halloween to all of you out there.
Ooh.
Check
Spooky,
your candy
scary
bars.
skeletons.
Check your candy bars for razor blades and your water pumps for leaks.
Yes, exactly. And on that note, should we eventually, we're 100 plus episodes in, should we have some kind of like parting saying other than like, I don't know, like, don't smoke meth, like,
I mean,
spay and neuter your cats, the one that's in your garage, like, I don't
already
know.
done.
All right. Oh, I'm not gonna ask. Have a lovely day. Goodbye,
yeah, guys.
friends.
As always, thank you and take care. Peace.
Toodaloo.